Hello dear viewers, you're watching us live from the RTD channel for the English News Edition. Here are our major stories. The head of state sent his message of wishes to the population for the New Year Eve 2018. And on the international news, New Year's Eve under high protection in Europe. It is nice to have you with us for this edition, and we wish you all a happy new year. And as usual, the head of state sends his best wishes to all of its fellow citizens and foreigners living among us. He started by saying, and I quote, "My dear compatriots, 2017 is coming to an end, the opportunity for me to wish you an entry into the new year 2018 with optimism. May the year 2018 be for all of you and for our country a year of peace and happiness and prosperity. As 2017 is coming to an end, I cannot help but think of some of our compatriots for whom the past 12 months have not been easy to live with, especially my weakening siblings with the illness, to those bereaved by the loss of a loved one, to those weakened by the precarious conditions. I also think with great affection for our soldiers, especially our hill battalions who risk their lives every day in Somalia. To all of you dear brothers and sisters, I wish you all the best for the new year. My dear compatriots, the year 2017 has brought its share of wars, its quota of terror, injustice and barbarism all over the world. In saying this, I think of the fratricidal war that is taking place in Yemen. I am also thinking of these terrorist acts that want to drive Somalia into chaos. But I am also thinking of those refugees who are fleeing misery at the risk of their lives all over the world. We hope that the new year opens with a world where peace, dialogue and solidarity prevail over violence, intolerance and miseries of all kinds. For our country, 2017 coincided with the 40th anniversary of our national independence. It was a year of communion and patriotic fervor around our values, our identity and our national sovereignty. But 2017 was also a year where we continued on our path of reforms and investments with rigor, with method, but also with determination. Because these reforms and these investments are the essential conditions of our development and our growth, which is close to 7%. My dear compatriots, for 2018, we will remain in the continuity of our political roadmap that you acclaimed almost 2 years ago by renewing your confidence to me. The results are in. We see it through the international rankings of doing business. We see it in the attractiveness of our country to investors. We see it in the new opportunities available to our young people, particularly in the regions. My dear compatriots, I have said it many times, economic growth is only viable if it is reflected in social development. That is why I always call for inclusive economic growth that positively impacts the lives of our fellow citizens in access to knowledge, access to health and access to housing. As we did for our education with the States General, as we have done for health recently with universal health insurance, we must have an ambitious generosity and voluntarism policy so that access to housing becomes a reality for all of our fellow citizens. Also, in the wake of that, we realize, thanks to the social housing stock, still thanks to the foundation that I created for the most vulnerable, I want the year 2018 to be the created year of housing on all of our national territory. I will give clear instructions to this effect so that the government increases the rate of construction of social housing, but also to put in place an incentive framework favorable to access to housing. My dear compatriots, the year 2018 will also be the year of the legislative elections. You will be called to the polls to choose those who will represent you for the next 5 years at the National Assembly. This choice you will do in your soul and conscience, in all lucidity and freedom, as the rule of our democracy. Happy 2018 New Year. Long live the Republic of Djibouti. End of quote.
Après avoir plébiscité notre coalition pour les régionales, je suis sûr que cette fois-ci encore, vous ferez le choix de la responsabilité, de ceux et celles qui, sans démagogie, sans querelle d'ego, travaillent à l'unité, au rassemblement et au développement de notre pays. Bonne et heureuse année 2018. Vive la République de Djibouti. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And on to the other news of this edition, the Minister of Muslim Affairs, Mumin Hassan Barre, took part this morning in the ceremony of handing over financial aid to orphans that Diwan al-Zakah collects. More details with Mandaq Mahmoud.
The Minister of Muslim Affairs and Culture, Mr. Mumin Hassan Barre, took part this morning in the ceremony of handing over financial aid to orphans collected by Diwan al-Zakah as part of the project called Kafal, or sponsorship, of the year 2017. The ceremony was held at the Sages School in the presence of the Diwan al-Zakah's Executive Director Sulaiman Hussein Musa and his closest associates.
In a brief speech, the Minister of Islamic Affairs and Culture, Mumin Hassan Barre, expressed his satisfaction at seeing Diwan al-Zakah's foundation complete its actions and take care of orphans in need. He applauded the foundation's efforts to alleviate the suffering of orphans, who are one of the most vulnerable segments of society. At the same time, he thanked the head of state, Ismail Margele, with his all generous donors for their valuable contributions to the Orphan Sponsorship Program. In a statement made this Sunday to press, the representative of the State of the Palestine in Djibouti, Kamel Kassas, reminded on the occasion of the 53rd anniversary of the creation of the movement of resistance Fatah, the fundamentals of the movement created by the Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. Once again, Mandaq Mahmoud has more to tell us.
In a statement made this Sunday to the press, the representative of the State of Palestine in Djibouti, Mr. Kamel Kassas, reminded on the occupation of the 53rd anniversary of the creation of the movement of the resistance. Fatah remains a nationalist liberation movement of the Palestinian people, even though it has moved from an armed movement to dialogue after the Oslo agreements. The Fatah was created after a tripartite war launched against Egypt in 1956 by Israel, France, and Great Britain, following the nationalists of the Oslo Canal by the President Gamal Abdel Nasser, and occupied by Israel in the occupation of Israel of the Gaza Strip. This movement then led to the creation of a multiple of armed movements or groups which carries out resistance actions both in the occupied territory and abroad.
Marie-Joseph Barque, triple Olympic champion, one of the most brilliant French athletes, is visiting Djibouti as part of a tourist trip to our country. Let's watch this video.
Marie-Joseph Barque, triple Olympic champion, one of the most brilliant French athletes, in visit to Djibouti as part of a tourist trip to our country. The presence of the champion gives a potential boom to Djibouti tourism industry. She visited the tourism site of Jalao in Arta, which is a natural reserve where you can meet all kinds of animals of our beautiful country. She was welcomed by the Arta Prefect, Mr. Abdullahi Daha Oki, and the site manager, Mr. Bertrand Lafrance, veterinarian. Marie Joy, who is known as a fervent admirer of our country, made her first visit to Djibouti And she said in an interview that Djibouti has a great tourism potential. Mary Joy took advantage of her visit to raise awareness among children in school about the importance of preserving nature.
The preparatory work for the National Dialogue with Youth took place today, 3 December, in the Obok yesterday, an eventful weekend in Hayu, because after the festive Friday where the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports in person, Hassan Kamil, officially launched the Regional Sports League in Obok, was the big gathering of young people for dialogue. It was at the community center of the region and in the presence of the President of the Regional Council that the exchanges took place. And let's recall that the objective of this meeting is to prepare the young people for this great historic meeting they will have by the end of January with the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh. It was before aperture of young people that the exchanges were organized by the experts sent by the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, and after the announcement of the meeting, initiative of the President of the Republic requested on occasion of the celebration of the National Day in African People's Palace, many young people took turns the microphone and expressed their feelings on the going question and on the different themes of exchanges that can be addressed within it. As part of the social safety nets still in Obok region, ADDS organized a training workshop in the regional council meeting on the prevention of maternal and child malnutrition. This workshop lasted for 2 days and brought together councillors to popularize the program. The ADDS was represented by the project coordinator, Mrs. Sulaikha Mohammed Jama, Vice President of Obok Regional Council, Ahmed Ali Sheikh. A strong supporter of this project was also present. This project aims to change behavior through various communication and delivery channels such as home visits, organization of group information sessions, tips for preparing meals without compromising the nutritional value of foods or good health practices. And now it is the turn of Tejoro region in the White City. Yesterday, the strong delegation led by the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports organized a demonstration session of windsurfing, full water sports that's practical on the sea. It should be noted that this discipline, combining balance shooting with wind sensitivity and dexterity, is easily accessible for young beginners. Attending the event were General Secretary Mohammed Ahmed Farah, Regional Director Umar Hassan Abdullahi, President of the Water Sports, and also President of Tejora Fisheries Association Burhanti Abdul Qadir Muhammad, and Maki Hamad Maki, President of Swimming. Let us recall that the launch of the regional league is in vain because of the loss of a perennial spirit, the disappearance of a great gentleman, the notability of the region. And on the news outside our borders, and this time in Europe, security measures for New Year's Eve celebrations have been tightened across the European capitals as security agencies and police try to prevent a repeat of terrorist attack on Berlin market earlier this month. Cities are deploying thousands of armored police and erecting concrete walls in attempt to prevent terrorists using a lorry to attack crowds. Earlier this month, ISIS-inspired terrorist Anis Amri, a Tunisian national, killed 12 people and injured almost 50 after driving a truck into a crowded market in the German capital. The attacks led police in London to adjust their security preparations for New Year's Eve. Officers said 3,000 Met police officers will be on duty across central London, with uniformed police being assisted by plainclothes officers. Other European cities have also stepped up their security plans. In Berlin, 1,700 extra police officers will be deployed at armored cars and concrete blocks and in crowded areas to prevent another lorry attack. In an unusual step for German police, some officers will also be armed with submachine guns. It is here we close our evening edition. Thank you for your beloved attention, and once again wishing you a Happy New Year from all of our broadcasting team in the Radio Television of Djibouti's personal.